One of the other things Adam Grant talks about is the importance of, if you want your kids to read, they need to see you reading. And I think
more than you read to them, they need to see you reading.
And I think with managers too, show them, talk to them, show them the books that you're reading. Maybe create a little mini library in the office and let people borrow those books, because that's self-direction, that's self-teaching.
And let the people see a book on your desk at all times, and let them see that change, so it's not always the same book, to demonstrate that you are reading additional books.
Welcome to the Manage Self, Lead Others Leadership podcast with Nina Sunday for experienced and aspiring people managers. This show will help you explore ways to become a more intentional leader. Each episode, host Nina Sunday speaks with some of the brightest business minds on the planet who share a passion to elevate and transform team culture. Workplace culture hides in plain sight. Is yours flourishing? Join the movement to make your workplace a better place to work. Are you ready? Because it's time to manage self, lead others.
Hello and welcome to the Manage Self, Lead Others podcast. I'm your host, Nina Sunday, and this week my guest is Randy Mayeux, and member of the C-Suite Network. We're both celebrating the launch of the C-Suite bestseller list, which the link is in the show notes, and by taking a few titles from both the C-Suite bestseller list and Randy Mayeux's 15-minute book synopses to have a short conversation on each. So we've got 6 books tonight. Do you know that there's too many books and too little time to read the best of the best? Well, my guest, Randy Mayeux, has the solution. Randy reads them for you. So go to 15minutebusinessbooks.com, and 15 is 15, the digits, and the link will be in the show notes. There are 2 book synopses of business books every month, prepared and presented by Randy Mayeux, the first Friday of every month. Now, if you're in the United States, it's 7 a.m. Central Time. He does it in person in Dallas as well. So if you're a Texan, you can actually be at the event and then streaming live on Zoom. And Randy and I selected 6 business bestsellers to discuss, with a view to urging you to either purchase the synopsis or purchase the book, or heck, why not do both? Links to all the books are in the show notes, and we've also got a free gift for you as well. Welcome, Randy Mayeux, and tell us about the 6 books we're going to be discussing tonight.
Nina, first of all, thank you for having me. I love reading books, and I love helping people discover what's in them. I have prepared synopses handouts for all 6 of these books, and
That's
actually, right. Nina, I have done 600 different book synopses in the 25 and a half years that I have done that. So the books we're going to be briefly discussing tonight are Right Kind of Wrong by Amy Edmondson, Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson, Mindset by Carol Dweck, Hidden Potential by Adam Grant, Atomic Habits by James Clear, Impact Players by Liz Wiseman.
And I just want to say, Randy, you are doing such a great service, because, look, I am an avid reader anyway, but knowing what to read sometimes is the trick. And we don't always have time to go to the book reviews, even to the bestseller lists. But the synopses draws you in. You go, I really want to read more about this. So I really recommend that people register for this and get these book synopses. Let's talk about the first one, which is very fascinating, the one about Elon Musk.
Okay. Well, let me first say, from what you just said, that they have discovered through studies that the average business person only reads 4 books a year. 4 books a year. So if I present 24 and people get to read through these and even listen to my presentation, it's like getting 20 extra books.
Yes.
For the average person. Number 2, people read a book, but they don't know how to pull out the best key points. And I provide that. I provide the key highlighted passages, and then I end with my own lessons and takeaways. So it's really like studying a book rather than a casual reading of the book.
So
what do you want to ask me about Elon Musk?
Oh, well, what's really interesting, what came up to me, I liked some of the stories that came up. I forgot that he was involved with the development of PayPal, and he always has this incredible big picture, which is he didn't want to just work on PayPal on having a good, financial package. He wanted to completely change the financial system, and he thought X was a great name to do that with. So he's always got this. He didn't really want to run a business, but he knew that if he didn't learn about business, he would end up working for someone else. So he realized for him to do what he wanted to do, he needed to become a CEO, even though that's not what he wanted to do in the beginning. Those are the two fascinating things that popped out at me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to read the book. I just had to read the synopsis to get those two snippets. So tell us, what would you like to tell us?
Let me say first that Walter Isaacson, who wrote this book, has also written biographies of Steve Jobs, which I've presented, and Benjamin Franklin, and Albert Einstein, and Henry Kissinger. He is a prolific biographical writer. And he really does say that Elon Musk and Steve Jobs are different than other people, just different. And so you are exactly right. Elon Musk starts something, but always has a bigger picture. He's not interested in building rockets that go into space. He's interested in literally living on Mars. I mean, literally. And so he has started SpaceX for the purpose of taking a colony to the planet Mars. You may not be aware, and this is not in the book, but he is wanting to turn X, which was Twitter, which he bought, which has not gone well compared to his other endeavors, but he wants to turn that into a new version of alternative to banking. So he wants to find a way to turn X into an alternative to banking. So those are some of the things about him. But here is the key element of what makes him different. He looks at a problem and figures out a way to fix it. And then he figures out a way to fix it with the fewest possible people who work incredibly long hours. He is not well liked one-on-one. He is not great at soft skills, but he gets things done. And that's one of the key findings in this book. So those are some thoughts.
There were some connections between Steve Jobs and Elon Musk in that a lot of people don't like them, but they do get things done, and they have these incredibly different approach to everything. And he was an innovator even as a young man, because I remember the story about Yellow Pages. They worked out with the internet revolution, which comes only once in a lifetime, they managed to do a directory that included map directions to get to the location. And so I think the editor of the Toronto Star said, belittled it and said, "Oh, look, it won't replace the Yellow Pages." Well, guess what? Something else replaced the Yellow Pages.
Yeah,
Very
and
similar.
Nina, he was the first person to do that. He created the finding a way to enter an address and it shows you a map automatically.
Which Google ended up doing.
Yeah, but he created it first. And so it's really remarkable. The other story that's really profound to me is he went to Russia to purchase rockets, and they were charging him a fortune. So he said, "We're not going to buy these rockets." And he got on the plane with his small team and flew back. And while his team slept, he got on his computer, figured out on a spreadsheet, figured out how he could build rockets from scratch better than buying them from Russia. He literally is a self-taught, I'm not exaggerating, rocket scientist.
Yeah.
He read the encyclopedia as a boy, and he's able to self-teach himself on basically any subject. So that's one of the keys.
There is a term for that, an autodidact. In other words,
Yeah.
the ability to teach themselves. So he is like beyond genius. And
on that, yes.
Yeah. So what's the bottom line with reading Elon Musk? What will the reader get out of that? Will it inspire them to self-teach themselves things that they want to learn and not be passive about things, to be proactive?
Yeah, I think that one of the key findings is his incredible work ethic. He works so diligently, and so many great business leaders have the Tom Brady, Simone Biles work ethic, from the athletic arena. They work so diligently. And so that's one thing to take out of this book, is he works until he gets it done. And that's a critical factor.
And we're going to find this little thread coming in some of the other books, like Liz Wiseman's book, Impact Players. She talks about the difference between typical contributors and impact players. So Elon Musk is definitely an impact player. And also this second book that we're going to talk about, Adam Grant's Hidden Potential. That's definitely, one of the areas of showing personal initiative, and also the importance of companies teaching their people character skills, not just the technical skills of finance and accounting and technical things about their role. It's building character. So tell us more about what Adam Grant talks about, the importance of how you grow.
Yeah. Well, first, let me say that Adam Grant is a wildly current, popular writer. He's written Think Again, which I think is actually his best book. And it says, if you accept something from the beginning, you don't rethink it and reponder it, and you don't think again and consider how you might be wrong, then you're going to end up off target. So that's from his book, Think Again. The best story from this book, Hidden Potential, in my view, is the inner city middle school chess team. They're called the Raging Rooks. And what happened was this inner city students who really would not be viewed as, I'm going to be blunt about it, chess team material, And this coach, his name is Maurice Ashley, started teaching his players. And he didn't teach them in the same way as usual chess teachers. He didn't start with the beginning of a game. He started with the end of a game on how you won, and he worked backwards. And so this inner city chess team ended up winning the championship. And so the point of his book is that if you will work with people and help them discover what it is they can do, their hidden potential, with the right coach, with the right teacher, with the right opportunity, will flourish. So they've got the potential. You've got to draw it out of them. And I think it's a wonderful book to do that.
And we're going to find that really mirrors what Carol Dweck is talking about in Mindset. So that we'll be getting to that.
That's right.
Number 6. So, and actually he does refer to Carol Dweck in his book. So you're saying recently demonstrated a growth mindset alone does little good without scaffolding to support it. So
that's right.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, you've got to, it's not just a work ethic. It's not just a mindset, and we will talk about the mindset in a moment, but it is the undergirding of people helping each other. And that's part of the scaffolding. And so he tells the story in Hidden Potential of the first Black United States naval officers. They were called the Golden 13. And they had the chance, they were chosen to be potential naval officers decades ago, before that was done. And none of them knew enough to make it on their own, but they literally said, hey, you know this, you teach us, and hey, you know this, you teach us. And they taught each other to make sure that they all passed the exams and made it. And so that's the scaffolding, is they helped each other and they made it to the officer corps. And every Black officer since then, and really every woman officer, because there weren't many of those, has them to thank for the work they did in building each other up and helping them discover their potential.
And that's peer-to-peer learning and peer-to-peer support as well. And one of the other things Adam Grant talks about is the importance of, if you want your kids to read, they need to see you reading. And I think
more than you read to them, they need to see you reading. That's right.
Right. Don't tell them you have to read books. You read books. So that's right. So they're modeling that behavior. And I think with managers too, show them, talk to them, show them the books that you're reading. Maybe create a little mini library in the office and let people borrow those books, because that's self-direction, that's self-teaching.
And let the people see a book on your desk at all times, and let them see that change, so it's not always the same book, to demonstrate that you are reading additional books.
Yeah, that's fabulous. The next book, one of my favorites, Amy Edmondson, The Right Kind of Wrong, about psychological safety. Professor Edmondson coined the phrase psychological safety way back in 1999 with one of her early books, Teams. And I've been a follower of her work for some time. So this is an amazing read, The Right Kind of Wrong. She talks about intelligent failures, and I'm not sure I've really grasped the full concept of that. Do you want to tell us a bit more about learning from failures, but the difference? There are good failures and there are intelligent failures. Before we hear the answer to that question, let me take a moment. Too many books to read, too little time? Under pressure to get through tons of reading that just keeps pouring in? If you ever wanted to unlock the superpower of speed reading, then you might like to find out more about my Speed Reading Academy for my online, on-demand speed reading training. It works like a charm. Imagine how many books you can get through when you double or triple your reading rate without loss of comprehension or enjoyment. Over the last few decades, more than 100,000 managers, professionals, knowledge workers, salespeople, and students from Australia and New Zealand have participated in my speed reading program, either for a private company group or public programs, and now as an online course over 2.5 hours that you can take in the comfort of your home or office. What makes my course different? 1, it's tested and proven. In this program, you gain the advantage of my decades of experimentation, creating a better speed reading course that works, so you too can become a master. In our live workshops, most everyone increases their current reading rate by 3 to 10 times, but what can you expect in a condensed online course? Mostly people triple their reading rate, some reaching 6 to 10 times, and just about everyone at least doubles. 2, it's step by step. It's easy to complete each module in order with me on video cheering you on as if I'm right there in the room with you. 3, you do the drills in your own reading material. The first module guides you on how to calculate your reading rate. 4, you can complete it in one sitting or spread one module a day over a few days. However, let me say this. Module 4 is where we do some heavy lifting. With 2 videos, a little over 30 minutes each, I urge you to set aside a focused 1 hour just for this module. And how about a promo code just for podcast listeners to gain a 50% discount? Write this down. Your promo code for podcast listeners is my name as one word, Nina Sunday. Now go to brainpowertraining.com/go to find out more and get started. And the link is in the show notes. Now back to my conversation with Randy Mayeux.
Let me say, first of all, that this book, Right Kind of Wrong, won the Financial Times Business Book of the Year award, which has a large cash award. And she beat out Elon Musk and The Coming Wave, and I forget the others, but it's really quite a remarkable achievement. Her earlier book, The Fearless Organization, if anyone is wanting to really delve into this, I would read The Fearless Organization and then follow it up with Right Kind of Wrong. She tells a story about some medical professionals who the issue was, will they acknowledge their mistakes? And her first finding was that there was a group that did not have any mistakes, or very many, but the reality is they weren't sharing their mistakes with one another. The essence of psychological safety is that you feel free to share your failures, and they're not going to reject you. And that way you help each other correct the failures. That's the right kind of wrong. That is the science of failing well. When people are afraid to say, I failed here, then they hide their failures and the team does not correct them. And that's a disaster.
That's right. And it's all about catching mistakes early in the piece, because they can cascade into a catastrophe.
Yes.
So
yes.
The thing is, if you catch these early mistakes and don't belittle people, in fact, there was an example of nurses, if they gave the wrong medication, needing to hide it because they'll either be, put suspended or lose their job or be made to feel like a 2-year-old. So it's all about taking time to find out how did that mistake occur. She talks, I think it was her book, The Importance of Checklists.
Yes.
Because checklists for standard routine functions means that it reduces the likelihood of error, and that can really be helpful. Because I notice when I'm working with different companies, I'll ask how many people, is this process, have you got a checklist for it? They go, oh no, people just know what to do. Well, new people don't know what to do.
That's right. And in the pressure of things, if you don't have a checklist, you'll forget something. Two quick comments here, Nina. One is that she discovered that better teams report more failures.
Yes.
And so she wondered, do better teams have more failures? And what she discovered was the better teams report them, whereas the poorer teams hide them.
And the better teams are more innovative. Now, if you're innovating,
right,
you're going to have a bit of trial and error, although she talks about trial and error being a misnomer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is, you are exactly right about checklists. And the Bible on checklists is a book called The Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande. I presented that book years ago, and it is a really terrific book. Atul Gawande basically created the surgical checklist.
Oh.
So he is a medical doctor, he's a researcher, remarkable writer. And that book, The Checklist Manifesto, is really a must read for anybody who's working on projects. So
because on a good day, you'll remember it, but we all have bad days. And that's when
that's right.
Third of the checklist, you don't even have to think. I liked one of her phrases. It's a paradox, and I think it has relevance for AI. Unfortunately, most warning systems do not warn us that they can no longer warn us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great quote.
So, not all failures qualify as the right kind of wrong. So what are the failures that don't serve us?
Any failure that you don't acknowledge and then tackle and learn from.
Right.
If you try to keep it hidden, if you're so proud of yourself that you cannot admit you have failed, then that is the wrong kind of wrong.
Yes.
You've got to say, we failed here. By the way, Elon Musk is a practitioner of that.
Yeah.
Elon Musk intentionally plans his first version of a rocket ship, his first two or three, to explode and crash so he can figure out why they did, so that by the fourth one, it's ready to go. So,
well, I didn't know that, because
yeah.
we see SpaceX crash and we go, oh, it's a good thing.
To him, it's a good thing, because he says the fastest way to learn how things work is to see where they fail and correct it. So I think that Amy Edmondson would agree with the concept that any failure that you don't learn from is a bad, wrong failure.
All right, moving on to the next book, Atomic Habits, James Clear. A lot of people are reading this, and if you haven't read it, get started. So, you know what I loved? I loved his exploration of marginal gains and the British cycling team. And I'll tell you something, I only found out about marginal gains when I'm an avid watcher of the Tour de France race.
Okay.
And the year that the British won, well, they won 5 out of 7, but one of the years that the British won, it was just one of the announcers saying, oh, yes, it's all because of marginal gains. And it went over my head. And then the second time, the other presenter said, yes, marginal gains really made the difference. I'm going, what is this marginal gains? And beautifully, James Clear talks about it in his book, which is about this plus 1%. Make every day improving every little thing by 1%. So tell us about James Clear's Atomic Habits and how we can improve one habit at a time.
Well, the first thing to say about this book is the New York Times puts out a monthly business bestsellers list. The C-suite list is a nonfiction list, so it's not just business books. But the New York Times does have a business bestsellers list, 10 books every month. Atomic Habits has been number one in practically every month, including this month, since the early days of the pandemic. And I think that what happened was people in the pandemic, when they were confined to their home, started working on, and this is the thing to remember, getting rid of bad habits and building good habits. And the marginal gains in the British cycling team, for example, they learned that they needed to keep the bicycles in a pristine van covered, because any little speck of dirt could slow them down. So getting rid of every speck of dirt was a marginal gain. And you search for a tiny margin in improvement in everything that you do. So
and they painted the vans white so they could see every speck of dirt inside the van.
That's exactly right. And so this idea of incremental improvement is you have to ask, what can I do to get better and then better after that? And there's a famous concept from an economist named Richard Thaler. I don't know how to pronounce his name, Thaler. He won a Nobel Prize in economics. He wrote a book called Nudge, Nudge. And you make a little nudge. For example, if you were to take the rounding up of the dollar whenever you spend money and save that rounding up automatically, that's a nudge that builds your savings. So this book, Atomic Habits, very much speaks of those kinds of nudges where if you do this a little bit, you will keep getting better. And
because he talks about it as a compounding process.
That's correct.
So the outcomes accumulate so that over time, it leads to staggering results. So it's this compounding nature that really happens if you're doing this bit by bit improvement every day.
Yeah. And let me mention that this book is really terrific, but it is primarily on personal habits more than corporate habits.
Yes.
There is a book that he mentions by Charles Duhigg called The Power of Habit. And that book has a great story about corporate habits. It's a story about Alcoa aiming for safety. But if I were working on habits, I would read these two books together, The Power of Habit and Atomic Habits.
Number 5, actually, this was one of my favorites, as it turned out. This is Liz Wiseman, Impact Players, How to Take the Lead, Play Bigger, and Multiply Your Impact. And not only that, she's a researcher and advisor, and she teaches leadership around the world, but she wrote another book called Multipliers, How the Best Leaders Make Everyone Smarter. Gee, I want to get that book too.
They're both excellent. They're both very good. And Multipliers was written for leaders.
Right.
This book, Impact Players, is written for participants, for team members who are not the leader. She says, when you are the best person to lead something on a team, you lead, but then you step back when somebody else is better to lead another piece of the effort. And it is the fact that you step up when you need to, and you step back and follow a different leader. When that works perfectly, it's a terrific book.
I like how she's able to list the character traits of impact players versus typical contributors. So impact players will have a problem solver mindset. They see challenges as opportunities. They're energized by messy problems. Change is intriguing, not intimidating.
And they wear opportunity goggles. That's one of her findings. And she says that when you look for the opportunity and find it, you are now contributing in a bigger way to make a better impact. So the book is all about making the best impact you can in the work you're doing. It's a terrific book.
And for those of you that are listening, please do listen right through to the end, because one of the best books is at the end. But also to remind you, there are some free gifts. If you go to the show notes, there are some free gifts, some free synopses you'll be able to download. She talks about the typical contributor mindset. So this is the other side of the coin, and the behaviors that are credibility killers, such as having an avoidance mindset. So what's that? Seeing a problem and going, I didn't see, I saw nothing.
Not my problem.
Yeah, not my problem. Yeah, that's a big problem. Waiting for the boss to tell them what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had that with some junior assistants. I'll go in and I think, gee, they haven't sort of said anything for a little bit. I'll go in, they're sitting there waiting for me to just turn up instead of saying, Nina, I finished that. What else do you want me to do? Well, those people don't stay for very long, let me tell you, because they just kill their credibility. But the other big one is that typical contributors don't consider the big picture. So
that's right.
Impact players think about the big picture. So they're able to spot the unintended consequences of taking a course of action.
Yeah. And let me say, Nina, that people who aspire to rise in any way need to read some books that are bigger picture books, not about their job right now, but what their job might become and what the big issues are, because the big picture really matters. So she's high on that. You're exactly right.
And she talks about high-performing people who are low maintenance. In other words, people that don't run to the boss with a gripe every time. In fact, the number of times people will complain, oh, that's not my job. It's like, excuse me? Do you really want to keep this job?
Yeah. Nina, there's a new book by Admiral William McRaven called The Wisdom of the Bullfrog. And he has a chapter on a motto from, I think, the Army, sua sponte, of your own accord. And what it says is the people who are most valuable see a job that needs to be done. They don't ask anybody's permission. They just do it to get it done. It is of your own accord. And that would be very much a compliment to this book, Impact Players.
There was a curious quote, which is, we can under-contribute by over-contributing.
Yeah.
And I immediately thought of sometimes these fast, loud talkers in meetings who dominate the conversation and don't allow or even defer to the others. That, I don't know what, I think they know so much, and other people, because they're not saying anything, don't know anything. And honestly, they can really, topple over or take people down the wrong path if they don't, if they don't realize they have two ears and one mouth. Some people just have two mouths and one ear.
Google has a rule that somebody writes down everybody's name in a meeting, and they put a check mark beside the name every time they speak. And if the check marks are not about equal, they've not had a good meeting.
They do the last book. So that and Carol Dweck's Mindset is such a classic. Tell us about its history on the bestseller list. It must have been there for years.
Well, here's more importantly than how long it's been a bestseller, which it has been. There are two books that I see quoted in other books more than any other books. One of them is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, and the other one is this book, Mindset. It is referred to by so many authors. And if you're not aware, here's the point of mindset. Carol Dweck says that teachers, coaches, employers look at some people and say, this is how far they can go, and they can't go any further. That's a fixed mindset. And she says you need a growth mindset, that everybody still has room to grow. And so this is almost more of this marginal improvement. Everybody can become better. And so the point of the book Mindset is your mindset about believing that you can grow further and that others can grow further really does make the difference. I think it's a significant point.
Okay, so we've got the free gift for people, and the link will be in the show notes. And what are the synopses in the free gift?
Well, I've got to grab them. Here they are. All of these won the Financial Times Business Book of the Year award. They are, and I won't get them in the right order, right. The World is Flat by Thomas Friedman, Rise of the Robots by Martin Ford, Chip War by a man that I don't remember his name, but it's a great book on computer chips. Right Kind of Wrong by Amy Edmondson, Invisible Women, which is about how women are invisible. And that's a terrific book. And then The Everything Store about Jeff Bezos. So those are the 6 books that I have presented that won the Financial Times Business Book of the Year award. And I've put my synopsis handouts in that box folder for you.
That's lovely. And so if people want to start registering for your upcoming synopses, it's 15, as in 15, businessbooks.com.
15minutebusinessbooks.com. And on the homepage, there's a box where you can sign up for our email list, and you will get the Zoom link where you can watch from anywhere in the world. And you will then get the handouts emailed to you the day before, so you can download them and follow along as I speak.
And the Zoom link of your in-person presentation at a location in Dallas, Texas, USA.
It's a hybrid. I'm speaking in front of some people in a room and also on Zoom. Yes.
I have a feeling, Randy, that there'll be a lot of global people that may decide to turn up to Dallas just to come to one of your Business Books events. When is it? The first, what of the month? The first Friday.
It's called the First Friday Book Synopsis.
Yeah.
So it's the first Friday every month, except an occasional July or January, depending on when January 1 and July 4 fall. And then it's the second Friday.
So if you're going to the US, head over to Dallas and say hi to Randy. Randy, you are a walking encyclopedia. And that is a big compliment in my books.
Well, thank you, Nina. You've been a wonderful host and questioner, and I've enjoyed this very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All the best. Thanks for joining us here on the Manage Self Lead Others podcast. I'm your host, Nina Sunday. My guest this week was Randy Mayeux, member of the C-Suite Network. We were celebrating the launch of the C-Suite bestseller list. As well, Randy does book synopses too every month. So we've got a free gift for you in the show notes. So make sure you go there to get the link, and you can download 6 business synopses free of charge. It was a pleasure talking to Randy Mayeux today, and until next time, enjoy good things.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.